Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm very excited today. We are live again, all together in the same room. So forgive us if you hear any sort of sound glitches, because we are hoping not to have any, but we might, but we're kind of aiming on the side of having us all together. It could be more fun. So I have with us today Tom Armstrong.
Hello.
And Greg Shamie.
Hello.
And we are going to do, by popular demand, some manager conundrums for you guys to say how you might handle them if you were in this situation as the manager. I'll give Tom a chance to go first after he hears the scenario. And mind you, neither of these guys have heard this scenario yet. This is brand new to them. So they have no time to prepare. They're just going to be put on the spot in the moment, but both of them like the energy of that. So we'll see how it goes. So
there's no scenario we haven't heard between Greg and I.
Oh, there's a curse.
Exactly. All right. Well, here we go. The first one, I'll let Tom go first, and then Greg, you can, argue with Tom, add on, whatever you want to do. And if you're at home listening or in your car, think about how you might handle this situation, either similar to either one of them or differently. All right, here we go. Ready? The meeting monopolizer. There's a manager on your team who always has something to say, and usually it's insightful, but they're dominating meetings, speaking over quieter team members, and unintentionally shutting down discussion. You've noticed others kind of holding back, and the energy in the room has shifted. What do you do?
There's a couple things that, this is funny because I'm kind of that guy sometimes. So this is what I recommend other people do when I'm doing that. No. One thing that I will do, because this is pretty common. The problem is not just that, but how do you solve the problem generally of the people who like to speak out having the only opinions that are heard?
Yeah.
When sometimes the quieter people might have the better idea, or if the first person says the word umbrella, that will then impact all the future conversation after that. And so you're tending to have everything biased towards the loudest person in the room generally anyway. So a couple of things you could do to fight that. One is I will talk to the person. Someone did have this conversation with me. It might even have been you, Christine, which is, hey, you have great ideas. Appreciate all of your input. I'm going to ask you just to step back a little bit, what is that? It's called stepping in, stepping back. Mm-hmm. Like take time also to allow other people to share their opinions and everything, because some people might take more time because they're thinking. So just maybe take a breath and then allow others to, however you want to communicate this to the person. I think it can be a candid conversation because it's not an insult. You're just saying everybody's different. Allow for the people that are quieter. So just having a direct conversation. Another is, you can have people write down their thoughts before speaking them out. Everybody in the room just write down 3 ideas that might support, or if it's a brainstorm, and then they read them going around in a circle. That way you hear everybody's perspective before you start doing kind of a more general brainstorm. It's another way to get the quieter people in the room their voices heard. Because it might not be always the problem that there's a person that's always speaking aloud, but also it's a problem that other people don't speak out as well. So How do you solve both problems, I guess?
Great. Okay, some really good tips there from Tom. Greg, you have some thoughts?
Definitely, lots of thoughts brewing. I obviously love Tom's perspective on most things, so I'm definitely in his leadership. And okay, so here's the thing I'm thinking about here is dynamics, right? As the leader of the meeting, as the leader of the team, I'm always thinking about individual dynamics. I'm always thinking about group dynamics. Those are two key aspects that my antennas are up around and always sensing. And so I love the step forward, step back rule. That's something that I would want to instill in, our team agreements and how we want to be together, is that if you're a step forward person, I want you to consciously, intentionally step back and see what happens. And if you're a step forward person, I want you to step back and just see what happens. Because again, we're trying to push outside of our comfort zones. And to push outside of our comfort zones, we got to go against the patterns, right? And so I'm working on that bigger leadership piece with my individual and group dynamics. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to call out in front of the group, not the individual who is over talking, because I don't want to expose that person. I will talk to them one-on-one in our one-on-ones. I'll bring it up. I'm saying, what's happening in the meetings? How is it for you? Let's talk about it. I notice a lot of stepping forward. How are you doing with stepping back on that one-on-one? But in the group, I will absolutely say, okay, it's important for us to get multi-perspectives on everything we're bringing up in our meetings. So everybody's voice is really important. And so I will, transparently continue to bring that up and frame it for everybody so that they step out of their comfort zones. That's huge for me in leading this effectively. And I'm going to embrace the person who's stepping forward too. Great, Tom. I love what you're saying. Christine, are you having any thoughts on what Tom said? Right? If Christine's stepping back and quiet or whatever, I'm going to call you out and help you to share your thoughts. So those are some things that are popping in my head.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a great one, Greg, in terms of how you facilitate the meeting in that moment, as well as with Tom's ideas. Another one, I was just going to add on to Tom's idea of ways you can facilitate it. A lot of times, if you notice in the meeting, oh God, this is going wrong because this person is just changing the whole vibe of the meeting and more people are getting shut down. I would do a lot more, even if it's not write something down first and then share it, but share with the person next to you your answer. And then when I ask questions, what did someone have something good that someone else shared? So then you're immediately, that person who's the over talker is going to be at least talking about someone else's idea, right? Not just their own. So maybe they can cheerlead for somebody else. I think too, it's a real coaching moment. I've had many people, including myself, have this issue because a lot of times these folks who overtalk and have insightful comments, they tend to be really good leaders in their future if they learn how to modulate, as you're saying. And I think that's an incredible leadership skill that you have to coach somebody on because they can either use this power for good or for evil. I use talking as a way of thinking, and it was a real eye-opener for me when someone explained to me that most people think first and then talk, because I just assumed everybody used talking as a way of thinking. And so that was a really good coaching moment when someone said that to me, because then I go, oh, I need to give people a moment to think and then be able to put their words together. Whereas I kind of just improvised my way through it, and most of it sounds like garbage until I get to the good point. But I'm okay with that. Hence this podcast. No, hopefully not. That's why you guys go first. Anyway, I think it's a great moment to say to somebody, you have incredible leadership potential. But let me point out one thing that's really important to learn in your career is how others are responding in the moment. And if you're stepping forward, to Greg's point, too much, how that affects other people. And I want you to just watch that, because our pathway to leadership is really about serving others, and you can relax on them that you have to be the one to always give those ideas. So,
something else too, I think whoever's leading the meeting sometimes will feel a little bit like it's rude to interrupt someone who's talking a lot. Maybe their story's going on too long or whatever, but you don't want to and it's a balance. When do I cut this person off? But it is your job. If you're leading the meeting, you're steering the ship, and it's totally okay to say, I'm going to stop you there. We're going to continue with that thought later, and then you just steer the direction of the meeting. Everybody else is going to be, and that person too will thank you for it.
Yes, it is my job to do that, Tom, and I can do it in a pretty cool, seamless, positive way. Great, Tom. I love that idea. Hold there. Christine, what do you think of that? Right?
Exactly.
Boom. I'm now taking it off you positively, stopping you and getting other people's voices into the space.
Yeah.
Right? That is something I'm continuously working on as a leader.
Yeah, it's a facilitation technique that really makes a difference in your meetings, because people are bringing how they felt in that meeting to your next one and so forth. So they're just going to continue to be like, oh, Tom's just going to be the one to talk. Let me sit back and watch this happen,
And you want to have that sensitivity as the leader where you are really you're looking for the ball. Right? You're looking for the ball to drop, to move to the right, to the left. You're on your toes. You're in that ready position. You're ready for a pass, right? And you're looking for it. And then it is my job to pick that up and move it around.
I love it. Okay, guys, here's another one. I'm going to go to Greg first for this one. And so get ready. Here you go. The team that's missing the mark. That's what this is titled. Okay. Your team has missed its key performance indicators for the last 2 quarters. The metrics are clear. The goals are aligned, and no one on the team seems surprised, but there's no real urgency either. Everyone says they're trying, but execution is inconsistent and energy feels low. No one is blatantly underperforming, but as a group, they're falling short. So as a manager, how do you handle this?
Whoa, this is a big one.
I got the softball.
Yeah. What happened?
I got the first question was a lot
Oh,
easier.
yeah, that was a nice warm up. No, this is great because again, this is real. This happens, and again, as the manager, I have to be looking at this. I have to be dissecting it. I have to be really trying to figure out what's happening on the page. And then the key moment for me as the manager is then to take my planning, my work, my preparation, my research, and go to the team and get their perspectives on what's happening. So the keyword transparency is coming up. Okay, we have our goals. We have our KPIs. We're missing them 2 quarters in a row. Let's look specifically at what that looks like. This, and this is being missed. You know, I'm noticing X, Y, and Z, inconsistency, energy low, whatever it is. What's happening? I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to get your perspectives on where the ball's dropping and what we can do to repair this and really go after it in a way that's going to allow us to succeed. So that's number one. And I want to get their viewpoints on it. I want to share all the information. So those are 2 key things that come up for me just listening to this scenario.
Cool. Tom, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with Greg. Getting their input is very important because you're going to come to it with all kinds of assumptions. Often managers might assume that it's laziness, might assume that there's someone doesn't care. And that's your own laziness coming to those kind of conclusions if you're not really looking into it deeply. So sitting down with the team and trying to find root causes. You can do a root cause analysis for this. It's going to be very important. So definitely, yes, Greg. This is also the kind of thing that involves just a lot of hard problem solving for everybody. It's harder to sort of say, well, here's your solution to this, right? Because things go wrong for all kinds of varieties of reasons. So you really do need to put on your problem solving cap and be creative. But I would say assume that it's probably not laziness. It possibly could be something like that, but I would say it's probably there's something. Are the benchmarks achievable? And what are realistic benchmarks? Sometimes it's how do we get to that level in stages? Like, I don't know if this is a brand new team or if there are new team members, if they're really experienced and there's a drop in performance relative to previous years. That's going to be something I try to figure out. What could be contributing to that? It could be all kinds of environmental stuff that I haven't taken into consideration. So that's why I was like, this is a hard one because
it is hard. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
Really you don't know. Is it a KPI problem? Like you said, are these way out of whack for whatever's going on in the world? And they've just kind of lost, like, there's no way we're hitting these anyway. So what, that feeling that kind of comes over you if they're too crazy? Or is it a culture problem? Like, do you have something that you don't realize that's going on? Or is it just one person that's causing problems behind the scenes that you don't know? I think it's interesting because I think that, Greg, when you say we should talk about it as a group, that's certainly, I think, in a very high performing team, that's the answer. I think in a team that might be lagging, I was just checking with myself, would I do that? And I hope I would, but I think there's also part of me that probably would, in our one-on-ones with each individual team member, try to suss out their thoughts so that if there's something I don't know about, they may feel worried about adding to conflict within the team, that they might feel more comfortable saying one-on-one.
100%. And that was going through my head as well, is that I'm going to touch base with everybody we coach, by the way. Every manager, every director, every CEO always has a couple of people that are all-stars on their team. And so I would be checking in with my all-stars who are hitting their KPIs also to see what their perspective is on why we're missing as a team, right? Because those players who are performing at optimal levels are going to have some insights and that are different than mine. So I think that one-on-one piece is huge in my preparation before I have that team meeting.
Yeah, and I think it's tricky because you don't want to turn them against each other. You don't want it to seem like, tell me who's not performing. It has to still feel like a team problem, not an individual problem. But I think it would be interesting to pick their brain about it.
There's a lot happening, changes in supply chains right now, for example, and that could create all kinds of chaos in the productivity of a team. And it might be a situation where people can blame that for why things are slowing down rather than saying, okay, there's a change in our situation right now as a company. How do we navigate around it? You noticing the change and leading the conversation might be the thing that get them to be creative about it rather than just saying like, well, we don't have widgets anymore. The widgets have gone up 100%, tariffs or something's happening that's creating an issue with our widgets. So, okay, so what do we do now? I guess would be like what you're seeing is a indicator of something deeper, which is again why I think familiarizing yourself with some of the root cause analysis techniques and actually leading that conversation would be good. And you can just Google that.
Yeah.
How do I do root cause analysis?
I think that it's an opportunity. If the energy is feeling low within your team, after you've done this sleuthing a little bit, back to our earlier question, it comes to a great meeting facilitation where maybe you get out of an hour meeting and you say, we're going to do a little bit of an offsite or something, and we're going to really approach this, and even bring in an outside facilitator sometimes, just like Greg Shamie or Tom Armstrong to help facilitate the group so you can be a part of it and watch, because it might be you that's affecting it. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah.
And then see if they do some sort of like design thinking methodology or something that changes up the energy to your point, and like shifts it around, and maybe they go for small wins that, you break up those KPIs, something that like energizes the team. They need something. They need a shot.
Yeah. I mean, and the actual talking about it in front of the team, with the facilitator or with you as the coach, is really saying, okay, we're being outplayed, right? The other team is controlling the ball. They're keeping it away from us. And what can we do in the second half that's going to change the game? So they need that. They need to know that we're losing. They need to hear it, right? And they need to strategize on what they're going to do in that second half to change the equation of the game. And it's my job as the manager to create that environment where they get excited and have something clear to go after.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. This was great. We're going to come back. We're going to do these all throughout the summer too. So we'll have other opportunities to have you back, maybe even next week, with some more management challenges for you to help people overcome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.